So last week we spoke about accept one another, and this week in Romans chapter 15 and verse 14, in Romans chapter 15 and verse 14, he said, "And concerning you, my brethren, I myself also am convinced that you yourselves are full of goodness, filled with all knowledge, and are able also to admonish one another." Now, admonition is not, first and foremost, when you hear the word admonish one another, what comes to mind?
To help one another,
Mm-hmm.
to enlighten one another on what is right.
Yeah. Why else? Now, the Bible says there are some people that say, well, we shouldn't judge people. The Bible speaks about righteous judgment. Admonishing one another is a part of church growth. You know, it's challenging one another, but this admonition is not of self. When I come here, I admonish you and myself, but it is God who is using me to admonish one another. A one-word definition would you use to describe the local church where you worship. Maybe the word would be biblical or friendly or family orientated or evangelistic, etc. Of all the adjectives that should describe a local fellowship, the word powerful is probably not one that occurs often. Truth be known that it is exactly what Jesus wants his body to be. Think what upheaval would occur in the satanic realm if God's people recognize their holy calling, Ephesians 4 and verse 1. Embrace heaven's strength, 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 11. And united to accomplish his work, Philippians 2 and verse 2. When he said, have this mind, that we should have the same mind that is in Jesus Christ. It is the challenge of Ephesians 3 and verse 20-21. Now to him who is able to do far more abundantly beyond all that we ask or think, according to the power that works within us, to him be the glory in the church. Sadly, few local bodies see evidence of the Lord's dynamic presence in their midst. Have we lost sight of our purpose and become distracted with personal agendas? And this is true. We can become distracted with our personal agendas, with our personal affairs. And when we are a body, when you become a part of God's spiritual organism, we look out and watch out for each other, because that's what Jesus, the Holy Spirit, does. He watches for our souls. So we try to be in the lives of each other. Churches that impact the world have several things in common, including they believe the Bible is true from cover to cover. They manifest a total dependency upon God. They They are people committed to prayer. They are bold in their faith and call upon God's power to be seen in their lives. Admonishing one another. What is this? What does this entail? There is a more difficult assignment for a Christian than to admonish and fellowship family members. Yet, if done in the right spirit, with the right motive, and in the right way, it can have a positive impact upon the local family of God. Let me ask you this question. When you hear the word conflict, what comes to mind?
The word what?
Conflict. Conflict.
Disagreements.
Is conflict bad all within itself? Is it a
Not
bad?
bad if you can work it out.
Okay, so the way how we look at conflict is very, very important. Let me say this. Once we come together with we're from different communities and backgrounds and development and ethnicities and all that, and we come together as a group or a body of people, we are going to have conflict. We are going to have conflict. But the way how we perceive conflict and the way how we look at conflict is very significant because we have to be mature to deal with conflict. And as church people, dealing with conflict, even when we want things to be done in the local church, in Palmborough, we have to understand that we are spiritual people. And when we are working out anything, the first thing we do, we go to God in what? In prayer. Because we have to allow God to lead us into this conflict to get the best what? Result. Having a conversation is a conflict. Yeah. It is a conflict. So conflict is not bad within itself. In conflict you can rise like a phoenix and flourish because conflict gives you ideas. It gives you resolutions. Am I saying something wrong? You know, we're having conflict and disagreements, but it doesn't. How does God say we need to do it? In love. Speaking the truth in love. That's how He tells us that we must deal with conflict. There must be a spiritual personification of ourselves as we engage conflict. Even in evangelism, we are going to have what? Conflict. We go into the world. Jesus had a lot of conflict. He was evangelizing the world. But the way how he dealt with this conflict, you see, he had something within him. He had the Holy Spirit. The way how he answered, the way how he spoke. So we can either what you call diffuse the situation or throw more gasoline on the fire when we're having conflict. All right? So we cannot avoid conflicts. You cannot avoid conflict. No matter where you go to the hospital, you're going to have a conflict running with your doctor. Your doctor telling you something that you don't want to hear. You know? So first and foremost, understand that you and I, no church can avoid conflict. The way how we respond to that conflict will tell of the outcome of the situation. Capiche? Understand what I'm saying? So we cannot run away from problems. Heard of a story that a man said that he does not want to get in any conflict with anybody. So he said he's going to go to his home and he's going to live there and he's not going to get in any conflict with anybody. He doesn't want any problems. And so, I don't know if with his faith, he was cutting a coconut. Everybody know coconut, right? You know coconut? It's a nut growing on a palm tree. And he was cutting a coconut, and he drank the coconut, ate the coconut. He had a window, and he threw the shell through the window, and somebody was walking in his yard. And it hit the person, knocked them down. You see what I'm saying? He believes that he was going to stay away from problems, stay away from conflict, whether the guy was trespassing or not. But guess what? Trouble came to his what? His home. The moral of the story is you can't run away from conflict. No matter how young you are, middle-aged or old, we will always have conflict.
Everybody has their own thoughts, so there's conflict anywhere you go.
Yeah, anywhere you
Everybody's
go.
thoughts are different on
Yeah.
subjects.
Exactly. You can't control somebody's emotions, how they respond to you, but you can control your own. So you're either going to be able to de-escalate the problem or escalate the problem. And with God, we can de-escalate that problem. I want to throw that out to you. And I also want to let you know, within conflicts, when all of us are together, great things can come out of conflict when we solve the problems. Great possibilities. God can use a situation for the greater good. Okay? In a church setting, we all have a voice. I am not better than you. You are not better than we all need to be transparent. I'm going to say that again. We all need to be transparent. We all need to be kind and loving and caring. This is how a group is going to move forward together. And that is why you heard me tell you that let your nay be nay, let your yes be yes, and your no be no. All of us. Even if you don't believe that what Brother Chris is doing is wrong, it's okay. Your voice is very important. But let us come to the table and let us have a peaceful discussion. Admonishment, what it is. The word could be translated counsel, correct, or instruct. Webster defines it as to caution, warn, reprove mildly, to urge and exhort. Admonishment, therefore, refer to a specific attempt to one counsel, one towards a greater wisdom, two, encourage another to greater faithfulness, three, motivate towards greater commitment, or four, warn one regarding wrong tendency. If I am not able to take counsel from Sister Agnes and Brother Rose, then I should not be leading here. I shouldn't be standing before you. Yeah. So I should be able to take counsel from you once it's done in love, once it's done according to God. I should be able to listen to you. You should be able to teach me. I hope so. And I should be able to listen attentively. I'm not greater than you. Neither are you greater than I. So, if you see me do something, God forbid, you might see me, I ran into Brother Sid's wife, what's her name again? Margaret. Sister Margaret, and I ran into Sister Millie in Walmart in Cersei. So if they saw me doing something that was wrong, and they come and approach me, I should be able to listen to them. The term is used in 1 Thessalonians 5 and verse 14. 1 Thessalonians 5 and verse 14. Admonish the unruly. The word unruly was a military term denoting one out of step. In other words, within the ranks of the army of God, there will be those who break rank and walk their own way, out of step. What is our duty as fellow Christians? Caution them, warn them, urge them to do better, admonish one another. So as old as you are, I'm going to ask you age. Brother Ricky, I don't know, you might be older than I am. Brother Rose, I don't know your age. But the point I'm making is, a baby should be able to correct you, and you listen, as old as I am. If I step out of what? Out of place. Yeah. When I was in high school, I wanted everybody in that class to win. I wanted everybody to pass their grades. That's the type of person I am. So I'll do my best to help everyone to be able to solve the problem, to do the assignment, I used to do food and nutrition, to get a recipe and prepare it well so that the teacher will be able to be pleased and give us a good grade. The Church of Christ, or the church that God has designed, is the same thing. We should be able to want everybody to what? To win. We want everybody to excel, to improve in their spiritual lives with God. And so we must be able to correct each other in love. If you don't want to use the word correct, admonish each other in love. When we step out of line, when we want to do our own thing and walk and say, finding the balance. Paul knew the secret of working well with people. Sandwich criticism between layers of praise. There are times we must be critical. Paul was, but I have written very boldly to you on some points. Romans chapter 15 and verse 15. Some situation call for clear and unmistakable admonition. Each church has problems, and to sweep them beneath the rug helps no one. Each church also has positive characteristics worthy of commendation. It is essential that we find the balance. 2 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 2. You cannot admonish constantly. Paul didn't. As many problems that the Roman congregation had, he applauded their success. Romans 1:8, Romans 15:14. Sandwiched between those commendations, however, were layers of admonition. Jesus did the same in the letters to the 7 churches, Revelation 2 and verse 3. I'll finish in a little bit, Ricky. Where he began with words of commendation prior to criticism. People need both. Okay? So we need to be able to strike a balance. The church is doing well in this area, but we are falling down in this area. So commendation is good with admonition. So it's not like admonition, 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 admonition. Break your backs. But commendation and admonition. Okay? So there are positive things. Because if you just look on the negative things, you're going to grow weary. You're going to get discouraged. You just don't want to move on forward anymore. Okay, so what is going on good for the Pangburg Church? You guys have a building. You have people here who are willing to help, to give to the poor. These are commendable stuff. Willing to help those who are in need. Faithful in the gospel, regardless of what is happening. We don't worship God because of mass numbers. We worship God because God is to be what? Worship. Think about it. Jesus had 12 disciples. Every time I have to remind people, Jesus had 12. He didn't have a crowd. The crowd followed him for a whole lot of reasons, apart from wanting to really serving him. You want to know who are faithful? When times get tough. You want to know who are genuine and who will go through the fire with you? So 60 went, 60 leave Jesus, only 12 remain. And so God is like this. He said judgment will begin in the house of God first. Yeah, 1 Peter chapter 5. Judgment will begin in the house of God first. So Church of Christ, you can start from verse 12 and read on to the 1 Peter chapter 5 from verse 12 to 16. Judgment will begin here first. So I understand. We believe that church is numerical growth, not necessarily. Church is faithfulness. Standing with God under tremendous pressure. When the going gets tough. When some people say, bye-bye, I don't want to sing with you and worship with you anymore. Yeah. Let us call a spade a spade. When we are focusing on the negative things instead of focusing on the positive things. When we think about possibilities that God called an ordinary fisherman, that what he sees in that fisherman, that he can move mountain and draw men unto God. And when we look in people's life, that God can change our lives. And so, if we look at history, just like I stood in Sister Agnes' dining area. I hope that's a dining area. And I looked across the mountains. And I saw God's beauty. And I said, God, I should not be here today. I shouldn't be alive. But I'm alive because of what you saw in me. I'm alive because only you can do the things that I have done. You are alive because of God. When you look back in history, World War I, World War II, and all the wars, and wars are still fighting, economic wars, and you have natural evil like COVID and all of these things that are going on. And guess what? you're still alive. And so we need to look on possibilities. We need to look in somebody's life and the DNA of God that is within them and how God can change and work through that person's life.
We're here because God's not through with us yet.
Yeah, He's not through with us yet. He's not through with us yet. And so, I am saying to it, don't get weary, because yes, we will get weary. Don't look on the empty pews and say nobody is here. God is in our midst. God dined with 12 men. Yeah, He did that. And a lot of times He took Peter, James, and what? And John, just 4 of them, on a journey. And guess what? Sometimes He's by Himself. Because Peter, James, and John, they're sleeping. Yeah. Sometimes you're going to feel alone. But don't give up. Sometimes you're going to be in the church and you believe that, yeah, some members should hold your hands up, but they're sleeping because the flesh is weak. The heart is willing, but the flesh is weak. And some of his best meditation were in a solemn place. In a place not many people were. So I'm just saying, church, strike the balance. We admonish each other, but there's a lot to give thanks for and a lot of possibilities. And God is still blessing us in this great country, United States of America. You still have the freedom to worship God. There's some people they have to hide and worship. Literally. In the Christian Muslims, they have to what? They have to hide and worship God. Because if they don't hide and worship, they are going to be killed. Because of who they are worshiping, Jesus Christ. There are a lot to give God thanks for. We will pick up, and I continue this evening. Admonish one another. That's what we spoke about this morning, Sister Millie. And we came from Romans chapter 15 and verse 14. Thank you for your time and your participation. If you have any questions, feel free to see me.